Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, a new way to get seating for World of Color, non-socially distanced meet and greets return, Toontown updates.
Tarzan is moving out of Adventureland, It's a Small World is honored, we talk to Disneyland poet Matt, and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Hello everyone, welcome aboard the DL Weekly podcast. Please lower your head and watch your step while boarding. If this is your first time listening, we hope you'll check out our website at dlweekly.net. If you have more time to spend, becoming an official weekly tier at dlweekly.net/support is an especially good value. Thanks for traveling with us today, and we hope you have a happy and memorable listen to this week's episode.
Hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of April 20th, 2022. I'm Tig Bushman.
And I'm Teresa Urban. Thank you to Kavehi S., Nicole H., and Katie G. for becoming official weekly tiers on our Patreon. Our supporters get some pretty fun perks like DL Weekly swag, bonus content, and access to our Discord community. If you would like some more Disney magic in your day, head on over to dlweekly.net/support to join the community.
Well, it's that time again for our friend Eric over at Concierge to catch us up on Disney news from around the rest of the universe.
Hello, everyone. This is Eric Johnson with Concierge, and welcome to the D180. While Tig and Teresa cover all things Disneyland, in the D180 we take a spin around the rest of the Disney universe, and we do it in 180 seconds. Let's jump right in. We start our journey in Walt Disney World, where Disney's Animal Kingdom's attraction list is increasing by one. Expedition Everest Legend of the Forbidden Mountain reopened April 16th. The ride went down for refurbishment way back on January 4th. Despite plenty of speculation, it looks like the major work was done on ride infrastructure and not the giant Yeti inside. For those of you unfamiliar with the East Coast's version of Harold, this roller coaster opened with a 23-foot-tall Yeti who would swing at passing cars as they hurtled through the mountain. And then he broke. Yeah, the poor Yeti of Expedition Everest has been motionless for years, a flashing strobe light his only companion, and now we call him Disco Yeti. And now you know the rest of the story. Speaking of stories, have you heard the one about Peter Quill? You know, the one where he loved going to the Universe of Energy Pavilion at Epcot Center when he was a kid. Oh, you might know him now by a different name. Star-Lord. Epcot informed us that its new Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind will open on May 27th. The ride weaves in narrative from Star-Lord's Earthbound backstory and the history of Epcot itself. We'll see the new Wonders of Xandar Pavilion bring new technology and goodwill to one of our favorite parks. Oh, and there's a roller coaster, too. This is huge. Literally, there's a giant building filled with a roller coaster. If you want to get in on the new Omni-Coaster experience, you're going to have to head to Florida. Now we head to the North Sea. The brand new Disney Wish has left the shipyard where it was constructed. It completed its 24-hour journey down the River Ems and is now going through its first testing in the North Sea. Fun fact, the Wish is so massive that to get all the way downriver, Disney had to wait for a full moon so tides were high enough. Imagine the embarrassment if they miscalculated and the ship was stuck. Anyway, the ship is safely at sea in advance of its maiden voyage this summer. Travel south to Disneyland Paris. The park is officially 30 years old now, having reached its big day on April 12th. What started as the generally disliked Euro Disney is now a gorgeous and revered park. Guests from around the world have visited Disneyland Paris and its sister Walt Disney Studios Park to the tune of 375 million visits and counting. For a destination nearly 30 miles outside Paris, one of the world's most beautiful and revered cities, that's saying something. Trek further east to Hong Kong Disneyland. This park is set to reopen on April 21st, just a few days from now. If you have their Magic Access membership, think Magic Key or Annual Pass or whatever we're calling them at Walt Disney World right now, you already missed the opening day reservation period on April 14th. Enjoy some festivities in Hong Kong or head out to Tokyo Disneyland. The parks of Japan take Easter very seriously with plenty of decorations, colors, and characters around. Tokyo even made specific characters for their park. Utsutama are basically giant eggs with legs bursting through the bottom and other bits of clothing to designate whether this is a Disney character or something else. They're odd, they're cute, they're very Japanese and always worth the visit during this interesting time at the parks. And that's 180 seconds. I hope you enjoyed our quick spin around the rest of the Disney universe. If you'd like to learn more about these Disney adventures or just have a few questions, please come on over. Visit the social media and websites of both DL Weekly and us. They're official travel planners concierge. We look forward to planning something special for you and your family. I'm Eric Johnson, and this has been your D180.
Thanks, Eric, for all of that great information.
Now let's get to the news.
When World of Color returns this week, there'll be a new way to grab a seat to watch it. Disney is rolling out a virtual queue system for guests to use through the Disneyland mobile app to grab a spot for the show. Guests will need to have entered Disney California Adventure on a one-park ticket or Disneyland on a park hopper ticket to be able to get the reservation in the virtual queue. The virtual queue will open at noon every day that the show runs. Guests will receive notifications 45 minutes before the show starts to head to either a blue or yellow gate to enter the seating area. Guests can still walk up to see the show, but reservations are highly recommended.
So I have a couple feelings on this. Feeling number one, I'm very happy that this is not included as a lightning lane specific perk. That I am very happy for, that you don't have to pay to be able to reserve your spot. However, with that said, I also don't like that this is yet another thing people need to know about and use their phone to be able to do. I think going and doing the parks with so many non-Disney crazy people when we went for the wedding really opened my eyes to how big of a hurdle all of this technology and all of these extra little kind of things, all these little need to know things are, and how it's just making the Disney experience feel I don't know, more alienated to those people that don't do it all the time and that aren't in the know like us. This seems like it'd be very confusing, and the fact that you might not be able to watch a nighttime show because you didn't know that you had to do this reservation thing ahead of time makes me really sad. The other thing that I don't quite like about this, maybe this will change, but my understanding was you had to be in DCA to be able to make the reservation. Well, the reservations open at noon. If you're on a park hopper and your starting park is Disneyland,
you can still. Can you still? As long as you've entered Disneyland, if you're on a park hopper. Yep.
Okay, good. I still don't like it. I'm still not.
I'm with you. I think this may be convenient for Disney on a bunch of different levels, and it may be convenient for some people who are like in the know about this stuff. But like you said, people who have never gone before and maybe have never downloaded the Disneyland app or any of these things. So first of all, you got to get over all these hoops now. So you got to get over the hurdle of well, you need a reservation, and we've seen that happen firsthand. People show up and they don't have a reservation. Yeah. Then you have to make sure that you're in the park and you're ready at noon, because you got to know noon.
And you have the specific app downloaded.
Yep.
And,
you got to get and do that. And then maybe, if you want to maximize your time and day in the park, you got to buy the Genie Plus and the Lightning. Like, there's just too many things that people have to do and plan for. And I get it for Disney World, because I feel like people that go to Disney World, they plan for years to go to Disney World generally, and they spend all this time thinking about it and coming up with all this stuff. Disneyland's like, people just casually go. So I think that they're trying to make both kind of the same, and they're not the same. And I wish they would just not do this. Now, what I hope they do is I hope that there's like 2 viewing areas that have these reservations, then I'm hoping other viewing areas are just walk up.
Well, yeah. I mean, how I read it, like there's the potential for walk up. I just wish, okay, if you want to have reserved seating for those that want reserved seating, great, fabulous, fantastic. Prior life, we had fast pass specific viewing areas or walk up viewing areas. So I just really hope that when this actually gets rolled out and we see what it is, that it's not just all majority reserved with this tiny little section in back that's going to fill up really fast. It just makes me sad, because I feel like these like you were saying, these hoops or these hurdles, I think are going to be kind of turning some people off to the experience, because it's feeling more and more complicated, and I don't want that. It's a happy place, right? But I don't want people to feel this. I feel is just going to add more stress, more complex, more complicated, whatever, however you want to say it. I feel like this is taking away from the magic of the experience.
Now, do you think that they're going to do the same thing for Fantasmic when that returns?
I do. I wasn't thinking they were until they announced that they were going to do this, and so it makes me sad.
I think about people like my mom. Like, she's not going to go without me, but like if she did, she would have no idea. No. She doesn't use her phone. She uses her phone for calls. She uses her phone for Facebook, and she uses her phone to look up like medical stuff in her medical app that she has, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine. And I'll be honest with you. So today, for a different story we're going to talk about later, I went in the app to like look up some information, and I feel like I'm pretty good with the app. I could not find what I was looking for, and I was forced to just. I knew where to find it on the website. So I actually ended up going to my browser, opening it up there, even though I'm sure the info was in the app somewhere. I just couldn't get to it. So I just think I we'll have to see what the guest satisfaction surveys will say about this. I'm sure Disney will get feedback about this, and maybe they'll tweak things over time. I think right now we're in this kind of period where they're doing a lot of this stuff. I don't think the stuff that we have today will be there long term in the form that it's in now. I think over time they'll walk back some of this stuff or morph it into something different, crossing my fingers, because that just seems like the way of things.
Yeah, there's the potential for that. That's very true. Character meet and greets started up again this week without Genie Plus required reservations like in Walt Disney World. Since January, the Florida parks have offered 4 different meet and greets as part of the Genie Plus service. So at Disneyland, guests can now get up and close to their favorites to get hugs, high fives, autographs, all that good stuff for the first time since the pandemic began in 2020. Because as you know, we've gotten to do the distance meet and greets, which I think were great.
Yeah. This is being kind of phased in. It did seem from stuff I saw on social media today, people were very excited. The characters seem very excited to be able to come out and get up close. I saw a video. I don't know if you saw this. I think it might have been on Instagram where Mickey and Minnie and Goofy and stuff came out on Main Street. And they looked so happy to be approaching people without a barrier, maintaining 6 feet of distance. And the kids and stuff seem very excited about it. So I'm glad that this is back. For me, I personally don't need to go hug Mickey Mouse or Minnie or whatever. Like, that's just, I'm not the target audience for this, obviously. But I'm so glad that the kids and people that really want that can get that now. Yeah. I do hope that they balance it out, though, with some distance stuff as well.
I did notice, so as we're recording this, the distance meet and greets just started. So there has been some people posting on social media and stuff. We've had weekly tiers that were in the park when this first went, I don't know, live. I don't know when this first started. And it was really popular. Lines were long. Opening day growing pains like we've seen with so many other things. But the one thing I did notice was it does seem to me, Kate, correct me if I'm wrong, it did look to me like there were still some characters that were distanced. I want to say I saw a photo of Geppetto hanging out with the Pearly Band back by It's a Small World on that terraced area there. I saw him hanging out there. So that made me happy because I think if they can do a hybrid, that would be the best of both worlds.
Absolutely. And I think in those areas, like the area back by It's a Small World, perfect for that. Up at the train station, if they have some characters up there, perfect for that.
Yeah.
That area on Main Street where they had it, perfect.
Well, the thing...
But the, areas like the Pixie Hollow, the Princess Fantasy Fair, all of those I think are great for... Mickey's Movie Barn. Those are all great for, those personal meet and greets.
Yeah. The other thing that I think would be good for those kind of distance meet and greets is the thing that's nice about the area that the Pearly Band's been playing in back by Small World. Yeah. That you can still approach the character. You could still hand them your autograph book. They could still be right behind you, reach over the fence to give you kind of a hug through the fence. Kind of it's not like in DCA where Max and Goofy were on the other side of the wharf where you'd have to just kind of wave from afar. I think if they're going to still do the kind of hybrid distanced things, have it not too distant that you can't still get an autograph. Because I remember when I was a little kid, getting autographs was so much fun. Yeah. So it'd be really sad to me if I saw a character like Geppetto, who I feel like he's been out more often now, but I feel like he was kind of a more rare character to see. So that would have been as a kid, I would have been so excited because that's not a character you see all the time at the parks necessarily. It's not like you expect to see Mickey, you expect to see Minnie. You don't expect to see Geppetto necessarily. So I would have been super excited to go get his autograph. So as long as you can still do, kind of have some of that interaction and not have it completely
Yeah.
removed, I think that would be the best of both worlds.
Absolutely. Well, for those of you who like spoilers, the Disney Parks blog posted a preview of the Main Street Electrical Parade, along with footage of the new float. Along with the new float for the finale, the drum sign that Mickey rides on has also been updated with 50 years, noting the 50th anniversary of the classic parade. The reimagined To Honor America float looks great with the new Mary Blair-inspired Disney characters and fits right in with the rest of the parade. I also want to say that our speculation was correct, because in the video Disney posted, watching the parade from two sides of the parade will give you two different viewpoints of that the finale.
Yeah,
float.
so if you're on one side, you can see like Casita, and on the other side, you can see scenes from, I'm trying to remember who was opposite of, we'll say whatever. We'll say it was the Little Mermaid or something, you know, so you can see different.
Tiana.
Maybe, yeah. So whichever of the little doll is facing you, there's a scene underneath them in lights that represents their film or their world, however you want to say it. So I think that's really cool that they've got, you know, that it's different on each side. So it makes me want to make sure to watch it from two different viewpoints to be able to experience that. I think I'm going to hold like full judgment until we see this in person. Oh my gosh, in less than a month, Tag, we're going to be able to see the Main Street Electrical Parade. That's crazy. But I'm really, all this did was like boost up my excitement even more to see it, because it looks so fun.
Yeah.
So fun.
The thing that's interesting to me that I kind of wish they would do with I would be a bigger fan of this coming back if in this video they showed it with the 50 years segment, and it looks like a good chunk of the reimagined float at the end. It seems like they're using like the newer LED lights as opposed to the older kind of incandescent looking kind of warmer lights. So I wish that they would have just rebulbed the entire parade in the new lights, because then it would have felt fresher to me and more up to date. But like, I'm looking at this picture right now that's the thumbnail on the YouTube video that they posted, and it's just the old like warmer lights with like this brighter design. What's interesting to me is it looks like it's going to go, instead of between just two different sayings, it's going to go between three different sayings.
Do you see that it says Disneyland and not just Disney's Electrical Parade?
Yeah. So I'm excited to see, because it looks like it's going to rotate between three different sayings. Because before it used to say Disneyland presents the Main Street Electrical Parade, and then it would rotate back to that. But they've also added this 50 years part.
That's so cool.
But the other two are still there. So anyway, very excited for this, to see the new float. We will be there and actually be able to see it in person, which will be great.
The one thing I'm wondering, though, because watching this video, it seemed, again, I'm not gonna get my hopes up too high, but the part that they had for Elliot, he looked more vibrant to me, and I don't know if that's just my wishful thinking and my love for Elliot.
You're obsessed with Elliot, yeah.
But he looked brighter and more vibrant, and his pink wings is what really stood out to me.
Where was that? Was that like towards the end or something? What's cool about this too is they obviously have done this, practiced it down Main Street, because the footage from this is going down Main Street. So, man, to be a cast member in there.
Did you check that out? Aladdin and Jasmine are on the magic carpet, and it moves up and down. They're flying.
Oh my goodness!
How cute!
The other comment that I'll make that Teresa made that I thought was kind of funny was she was laughing that the guy's hat matched his suit.
Yeah. That's style. When your hat matches.
This finale float looks really good, and I'll bet you this video probably does not do it justice, if I'm being completely fair. Oh, there's the Elliot I think you were talking about. Oh,
there he is.
Before it.
Oh, that's old, because look, there's people.
Yeah. So
Don't his wings look like extra pink?
Something.
I'm not buying into this nonsense, Teresa.
Yeah. But I do want to say that they replaced the eagle section with a whole new section of float. Like, that's not a reimagined eagle.
Oh yeah. The actual final piece of the parade. Yep. Well, Mice Chat had some eyes in the skies recently that gave us some insight on the progress being made in Mickey's Toontown. We have the article linked in the show notes showing that Chip and Dale's Treehouse has been removed and all of the paving, along with the 2 fountains in the land that also have been removed. Moment of silence for the Jolly Trolley hub.
You had to go there.
Yeah.
Jolly Trolley.
The gazebo in front of City Hall in Toontown has also been taken down. I don't know why, but that one, I was a little surprised about that. It makes sense, though, because when you look at the building and where the entrance for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway will be, it was going to be in the way, but it still makes me sad.
Yeah, there was something about that gazebo that I have fond memories of because
so
like
cute.
Pluto's Doghouse and stuff is right there, and I used to love to get hot dogs there, and we would go sit by the gazebo. And I also remembered that every like 15 minutes the clock would go off and characters would come out from there. So I hope that they continue to do stuff like that because that was a lot of fun. I do like that they have like torn up a little bit of everything. I'm sad to see both fountains gone because I do like the fountains. Yeah. So I'm hoping that they bring back something.
Yeah, there is going to be a fountain, remember?
Okay, yeah.
There will be but only one fountain.
And then there's this weird rumor that Mice Chat is on about that I don't know if I buy into, but they speculate that where the Chippendales Treehouse will eventually be another walkway into Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah. I'm having a hard time with that one too because I don't know how close that actually is, but I will say it does make sense since Toontown's kind of just a dead end. There's only one way in and one way out. If they do make a separate entrance or exit or path, however you want to call it, in there, do you think Toontown's going to have limited hours, or do you think Toontown will be open the same, will open with the park?
Well, see, this is interesting because the reason that the Toontown usually closed early is because the fireworks launching area is right there. I can see them doing like they do with the castle, where maybe parts of Toontown are closed for a limited time after the fireworks, and then they reopen it. Because with Mickey and Minnie, with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway back there, I feel like the demand is going to be high, so closing the land early is not going to fly very well. Well, Tarzan's Treehouse has been under scrims for quite a long time now when it abruptly closed to guests sometime last year. Well, Disney has not addressed why this was until this week. The current plan for the attraction, which has stood in Adventureland since 1962, is to remove the entrance to the attraction, which blocks guest flow, and eventually retheme it to something else. Mice Chat speculated one of the options would be back to the Swiss Family Robinson, since Disney Plus was working on a series based on the classic, but our sources say that series has been put on hold for now. Another option is theming it to Encanto. We'll keep you updated when we have more solid information on what it will transform into.
So Tag and I were talking about this pre-recording, and I don't know what it is about this, but I'm having a hard time with this one. I'm having a hard time believing that that they're actually going to be retheming this. Yes, I feel it's been under wraps for a very lengthy time for some reason that maybe will never actually be told to us what happened or why it's happening. But it's got to be something structurally or something like that. It's got to be a pretty big reason that it's been closed for as long as it's been closed. We were just talking about this. I don't remember exactly when it closed, but I know for sure that when we were there in July of 2021, it was closed during that trip, and it has not, since we've been able to go back to Disneyland, it has not been opened. So anyways, for some reason, a lot of people have reported on this, but this all started with, I believe there was some speculation from Mice Chat and kind of some I wonder if, and then an article came out from the Orange County Register, which we will have linked in our show notes. And they just say Disneyland officials have said, I would like to know who these officials are, because I don't know why, but I'm just not quite believing it just yet. Cause it seems very backwards to me how Disney is doing this. Cause it's just weird that an attraction has been closed for as long as it's been closed, for them to now say, oh yeah, we're retheming it. That feels very weird to me, because we have other things like Splash Mountain that we were told, and there was an official announcement from Disney explaining that retheme was going to be coming. And it's not like they've just had that attraction closed until the retheme happened. You know what I mean? It feels backwards to me that the attraction was closed for so long prior to them saying, some official somewhere saying it. I'm having a hard time with it.
I think we will know. Soon, because they said that the section of the tree that is kind of in the middle of the path was supposed to start deconstruction yesterday as we record this, which would be Monday the 18th. So sometime later this week, I'm sure there'll be photos or something if that has started. If they are getting rid of that aspect of it, there definitely has to be some type of rework, because how do you get up there now?
Yeah.
So you have to figure that out. The only thing I want from this is I would like it to have more kinetic movement like it used to when it was Swiss Family, because it had the buckets of water moving. They had the big the water wheel thing. It was great.
I think that's my other hard pill to swallow with this stuff going on too, is getting rid of that staircase right there. To me, I mean, I'm not an Imagineer, but to me, where the stump and the staircase is sitting, I don't feel like that's that big of a footprint to make that big of an impact on traffic flow for that corner.
Look here, though. See where this rail goes? If you were to get rid of this whole section of pathway could be open.
Yeah, but that's like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like
that's right here. But you're thinking about the whole backside. See, they have another rail that comes out.
I know, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it's not. I don't think it's a massive footprint. Sure. I don't think you're gaining a ton getting rid of it. I can see safety reasons, because we did have the bridge have an issue where somebody broke through one of the slats.
Yep.
Maybe it's more of a safety issue than it is an actual because see, you're still going down though.
Yeah, but if this was gone, that could just be open.
Either way. So, but the one thing that also makes me very sad about this is I feel like we do need to gain some kinetic something, because the one thing that was really nice about the bridge was you had
people moving
across it. So that gave you some of that kinetic movement feel just with people moving around. That also made it more enticing and more interesting. Like, oh, how'd they get up there? What's up there? It kind of drew you into it a little bit.
It also kind of misrepresented, because the stairs on that section are pretty short, and then the rest of the stairs are like over there. Yeah, because it's a lot of
stairs.
The whole attraction is basically stairs of one way or another.
Climbing up and down.
Which brings another thing. If they do a lot of renovation with it, do they end up having a situation where they have to do ADA compliance?
Oh, yeah.
Because there's no way anybody other than people that can handily walk up and down stairs can access that attraction, period.
Yeah. The other thing that makes me really sad, the music. We're going to be missing on that
love the music, don't you?
Wonderful Tarzan area loop music.
I will say that there were some people in the comments of one of the stories I read about this that were talking about the music, and they were also lamenting the possible loss of it.
I mean, it's wonderful. The other thing that I'm having kind of a hard time with, too, is nothing. So Disney's very focused on IP. So when they talk about retheming an attraction, naturally, all you can think about is what movie fits.
Yep.
So to me, okay, big giant tree. What movie fits? A lot of speculation is Encanto right now, because Antonio is has like a tree house in his room, and I can't see them theming. I'm having a hard time with that. A lot of people really, really think that's the direction that's going, but that doesn't make sense to me. I feel like if they're going with how popular Encanto is, I feel like that can't be the attraction that they do for Encanto. Well, I feel like it needs to be something bigger, something better, and something that represents Casita, the full family, better.
The tree just is like that one little segment, and everybody's tying this speculation to this one toy that they have that's similar. So I don't think that's the way it's going to go either.
The only other thing that jumped to mind was the Jungle Book, but I feel like the Jungle Book might not be connecting with today's audience quite as well. So that might be a harder, I don't want to say sell, but I think it would fit. I think it would fit really well, because you could climb up there. Ka could be in one of the branches. You could have Bagheera. Also you could have those animals could be there. Sure. Jungle Book, clearly it's gonna fit with the overall jungle theme. But I mean, really, I'm holding out hope that it's going to be something original.
Yeah,
I would love for it to be something original, but I don't know if it will be.
Now, I don't know what they're going to theme it to. But do you know what I think? So it closed kind of suddenly when it closed.
Yeah.
I think, and I've told this to Teresa every time we've walked by it and talked about it, I said, I think that they found like a stress crack in the superstructure.
Yeah, there's something.
And I'll bet you that that's what they've been working on, because I feel like there was no notification that it was closing. It has been forever since they've had it reopened, and they haven't officially announced anything. So my guess is something happened to the metal steel superstructure, and they've had to fix it. And then now they're just on this thing of trying to retheme it as something potentially. I will say we are live streaming the episode recording into our Discord chat. So if you are a supporter at any level that has access to the Discord chat, you can listen in on this. And one of our supporters in there, Sam, said there's a shortage of space in the whole park. What if they expand the Treehouse experience throughout the whole Adventureland as almost a second level? That would be cool if you had like little walkways and stuff. Like it would fit. It'd be kind of cool.
That would be.
Could you imagine going over like just the front section, maybe of the Jungle Cruise? That would be kind of cool.
That would be.
Not the back part, just like a little bit in the front.
Oh, you mean like the actual jungle?
Yeah, like
actual boat
go
ride?
over the river so you can look down on the boat or something. I think that would be really cool. You know, kind of it could work. That would open up a lot of space. You get some more people up there.
Yep. I mean,
but
sky's the limit when
ADA compatible. ADA stuff is the problem there, because you got to get people up there somehow, and then you have to make it accessible that they can get around everything too.
Just build an elevator in the tree.
Well, there you go. And they have to theme it so it looks good. So it looks like somebody's like pulling it up or something.
Well, and but with I mean, I'm by no means an expert, but we do have experiences like the subs that have a separate. There's two experiences. You can still experience the attraction, but you're just experiencing it differently. So, So maybe, I don't know. The sky's the limit. We'll see what happens.
I can't wait till they announce something, because I feel like there's going to be something that we haven't even thought about if they are going to retheme it. That they're like, we're going to retheme it to this, and we're going to be like, perfect.
Original idea. That's
well, what would you theme a tree to?
I mean, you could do it to anything. It's Adventureland,
I suppose.
You know, so if it's going to be some sort of, it's an original idea. It
they
could
should
be
install an animatronic The Rock and have it be also Jungle Cruise themed.
Oh man.
Moving on.
I don't know how we move on from that. Well, one of the most iconic songs from the Disney parks has been inducted into the Library of Congress. It's a Small World was first heard on the attraction in the 1964-65 New York World's Fair. The fair had the theme of peace through understanding, which fits right in with the attraction that was moved to Disneyland after the fair had ended. The song was one of 25 other recordings worthy of preservations for all time based on their cultural, historical, or aesthetic importance in the nation's recorded sound heritage.
That's crazy. Only 25 that were inducted at this particular time. I do want to say what was really interesting about this. The Orange County Register has this article about it. The entire Library of Congress recording registry only has 600 songs, albums, broadcasts, speeches, and interviews. And they've only been doing it since the year 2000. It joins other singles like White Christmas, This Land Is Your Land, A Whole Lot of Shaking Going On, Respect, Sweet Caroline, Rapper's Delight, which was kind of funny. Other singles that went in with It's a Small World are Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, Don't Stop Believin' by Journey, and Livin' La Vida Loca by Ricky Martin. The latest class of inductees also features speeches by Franklin D. Roosevelt, WNYC's broadcast of 9/11, and a WTF with Mark Maron podcast interview with comedian Robin Williams. I want to go listen to a bunch of this stuff now. I wonder if you can listen to it on the Library of Congress's website.
I don't know. That's a great question.
But how cool. I wonder what producer Vern thinks of this.
Still very, very cool. The thing that I'm wondering, we'll have to dive a little bit deeper, but are there any other, what other Disney songs are preserved in the Library of Congress?
Right here.
Oh, okay. So It's a Small World isn't the first Disney song. Also in the registry is When You Wish Upon a Star. And the Star Wars soundtrack conducted by, of course, John Williams. If you're gonna, I feel like those are two very good, like if you're gonna pick things to represent now the Disney company, When You Wish Upon a Star seems like that's kind of Disney wrapped up with a nice little bow. And then, of course, The Star Wars soundtrack, iconic.
Yeah, I'll have to look around on this because I feel like stuff with Library of Congress, I feel like you should be able to get in and see some of this stuff. So the Magic Key Terrace continues its transformation slowly. New chandeliers and lighting have been installed, along with faux stained glass, a new fountain, wrought iron fixtures, and more. The theme is highly inspired by peacocks for the interior covered portion and by cats on the exterior portion, which I thought was hilarious. Overall, this is a nice improvement to the area and makes it feel more welcoming.
The cats thing feels weird and maybe like disjointed and disconnected, but it makes total sense because of the Disneyland cats and because a lot of the Disneyland cats are kind of known to hang out in DCA. Of course, you can go, usually you can spot, well, if you're lucky, you can spot one over kind of by the river area back where why am I going to say Cali River Rapids? You can spot them over by Grizzly River Run, but also I think I heard that there's like some backstage areas behind the Magic Key Terrace that the cats like to hang out as well. So even though I like it, it's a fun little Easter egg and a fun little nod that if you aren't in the know about the cats of Disneyland, you might go up here and be like, why do they have like fancy watercolors of cats and all these little like cat tiles? It might feel a little weird to you, but
some crazy cat lady designed this.
I think it's a really fun nod. Now, the actual interior portion of the Magic Key Terrace, I'm very excited about. I love the theming with peacocks because, first of all, peacocks are beautiful, vibrantly colored birds. I think I've heard that they're kind of mean. I could be wrong, but I think but they're beautiful. Like they're very, very pretty. They're just kind of elegant too and graceful. Yeah. So I think it's a nice pop of color to what was otherwise a pretty flat space, I'll say, because there wasn't a whole lot of decor going on prior to this retheme. So I'm really, really excited.
Yeah, it looks really nice. I'm excited to go eat there again because when we were there last time, I feel like it wasn't, you're right, it wasn't like as themed or inviting. It just kind of felt like almost like a restaurant or a patio you could go like anywhere, like just a regular plain old winery. So this extra theming really adds that kind of Disney touch to it that maybe like a standard place wouldn't have. But I love stained glass, and I know this is like fake stained glass, but I love it. It's beautiful.
But they do a really nice job with this because the other quote unquote fake stained glass that I can think of in the resort is at the Red Rose Tavern. I really like looking at those pieces on the walls inside there. They're really beautiful. Even though I know it's not true stained glass, it's still I like the style that look of stained glass.
Oh yeah, I do too.
Scaffolding has come down from around stage 12 in the Hollywood Pictures backlot area of Disney California Adventure. The building has been repainted, and a meet and greet for Goofy has been placed here for Food and Wine Festival. The meet and greet was there before, but they shifted Goofy over. He was closer to the best place that I can describe it is he was where Captain America used to do meet and greets, kind of near the restrooms there at the end of the road. That's where the meet and greet had been, but Goofy's been shifted over. The area was where Captain Marvel's airplane and meet and greets had previously been relocated.
I don't know. They repainted it.
So the one thing I'm a little sad about was prior to Captain Marvel moving in with her airplane, the two hangar doors on the other side had been really fun photo ops.
That's right.
I'm really sad that those are gone. I hadn't gone over because they just had like things kind of draped over the sides. So I guess I don't know if those photo ops had been gone for a while or if they just recently had painted over them. But the photo ops were fun. One of the photo ops, if you remember, looked
like butterfly wings, wasn't it? One of them?
No, it looked like you were holding on to a bunch of balloons and like getting lifted up from the movie. Like it was themed to the movie Up. The other one was a pair of wings, I guess, but they were it was like Buzz Lightyear's backpack Buzz Lightyear's wings. Those I thought were such cute, fun photo ops, and I liked the style that they were into because it almost looked like hand drawn versus like, I don't know, something like perfect looking.
Do you know what they need to do? They need to. I'm just going to verify this. I got to Google satellite view this for me. They need to just put an attraction in this building.
They need to do something with
because
that building.
it's a big chunk of land.
You know what they could put there? They could put our Encanto ride there. Why not?
Because this is probably all going to end up being
no.
Avengers
so pull
stuff.
this back because look at how big Monsters is, like how giant the attraction building is for Monsters.
Yep.
Think of the size of that ride, and now look at that building.
Okay, well, why don't they move the Marvel store from this stage to here, and then put the ride in here?
Then we can put a ride in over there. I like it
because these two buildings are basically. I mean, this is a store right now, the Marvel store, but I feel like this could be better utilized being something else. Next to
we're talking about
which they still need to bring something back to the Hyperion.
Yeah. So here, that's where the meet and greet had been.
Okay,
that was where Goofy was next to the restrooms near the Hyperion. But yeah, I do feel sad for that little corner of DCA because, Mike and Sully are back there. We love Mike and Sully, but I just feel sad that it just feels like there's a lot of underutilized space back there. I'm sure there's a grand plan. But yeah, I just wish they'd do a little something more to that area.
Now I have a question for you, since we're talking about grand plan. Mm-hmm. I know we've gone from a painting story into redoing a whole section of California Adventure. But do you think if they bring Avengers Campus this way, because they did talk about that would be something along down the road, do you think something's going to happen to the Animation Academy and everything too, being in the middle of all of that?
Don't come after me. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I really hope that they do not expand Marvel into that corner of the world either. I love what they did with Marvel in the space that they did it. I don't want Marvel to take up more space in the park though. If Marvel can expand and do that second e-ticket attraction that they had planned for, that's 3 attractions for the Marvel area. Mm-hmm. So I really don't want them to take over that. And I also think that would be a really hard thing to see because first of all, then you've got the Hyperion wedged in the middle. So then the only thing you could put in that theater that would make sense would have to be Marvel based.
Well, you'd put in that silly Marvel musical thing.
But it would be that for the rest of time because it's surrounded by Marvel. You couldn't put Aladdin back in there because that would be kind of weird.
Aladdin's never coming back.
No, but I'm saying you couldn't right now you could put anything in that theater.
That's true.
Whereas if you had it surrounded by Marvel, you can only really...
I'm telling you, they just need to bring something back to that theater. It's such a...
There you go.
Missed opportunity.
Encanto on stage.
Whatever happened? We were so onto Coco. I still think they should do something with Coco, too.
I think they need to as well. We need more Coco in our lives.
We need more. So Pixar Pier needs the space that Hollywood Pictures Backlot has. Yeah. Well, fans of Disney Pixar's Turning Red have a lot of merchandise options around the parks. Some of the items that are available include a Turning Red mini ear set, some amazingly comfy-looking slippers, plushes, and more. Some of the most popular items, like the 4-Town band shirts, have sold out, but will hopefully return in the future. What do you think of these ears?
So before we get on to the ears, this may seem kind of like you may be thinking, Tag and Teresa, why did you include this in the news? I feel like this is really exciting because right after Turning Red came out, we were in the parks and I want to say there was 1, maybe 2 things. They didn't even have ears at that point. I don't even remember what it was, but there was 1 or 2 things. Maybe it was the panda hat. But there was no merch. And there were so many people so excited for this movie, but there was no merch to be found anywhere. So I find this very exciting that they finally have
I think
the
it's
merch.
Supply chain things, just like everything else.
Well, I don't know if it's supply chain or not, because I feel like they kind of did this, that they've kind of done this before. I want to say, I feel like when they really, I know we've been talking about Coco a lot, so that's the current thing on my mind, but I feel like when they released Coco, it took a while to see stuff at the parks as well. So I don't know if they kind of pump the brakes a little bit and they want to make sure the movie's going to be well received before they roll it out. But I also realize that the delay in when the movie is released and when we see the merch is not long enough for them to say, oh, good, it's popular. quick make all of the things, you know. It's interesting to me.
Yeah,
but it's exciting.
I don't know. But what do you think of these ears?
They're fun. I think they're really fun.
I like the fact
one side of the ears, if you have not seen them yet, one side is May in her human little girl form, and the other side is her in her panda form with a fuzzy, cute bow in the middle.
And these slippers...
I like the one that's like screaming. There's a cute, so the slippers are a set, right? So you've got one foot is like cute, adorable red panda. The other foot's like, terrified something red panda. Very cute. She looks like,
well, this one, she looks really like unimpressed with anything.
That's kind of how she was.
Yeah.
Like, that was, yeah.
It's cute. It's cute. I agree with you. I like that they have a bunch of stuff. I do want those Four Town things to come back because I feel like those were
the Four Town.
Yes,
the Four Town concert T-shirts. They were stocking those actually when I was in the not the Emporium. When I was in World of Disney, and we were watch them like get rolled out, you know, onto the floor on the thing, and super popular. Well, when Disneyland closed in 2020, the Disney Parks YouTube channel posted a video of the Magic Happens parade. The poor, short-lived, really beautiful, amazing-looking parade that came and went in like the blink of an eye. Well, this week, Disney has removed that video from their channel with no explanation as to why.
Now, I do want to tell you something. So when I was goofing around trying to figure out showtimes and stuff, trying to figure out for this stream thing that's happening tomorrow, I was looking around the app, and now I'm probably not going to be able to find it. But there was somewhere on here that talked about spectaculars, and they said like this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing are not playing, but coming soon are these four. And it was like World of Color, Fantasmic, the Electrical Parade, and the fireworks show. But they still had Magic Happens there listed as like these aren't playing right now. So they still acknowledge that it exists. They just, and so that's something. I want to find it because they had some other stuff listed there too.
I don't know if we need to like start a petition or what.
It's under entertainment, temporarily unavailable entertainment. When you tap on it and you scroll down, it says what's not available. Anna and Elsa's Royal Welcome, Magic Happens. Yeah, it doesn't do anything. Magic Happens Parade, Disney Princesses at Royal Hall, blah, 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 Royal Street, Big Band Ball, Storytelling at the Royal Theater, World of Color Season of Light. But returning soon, Disneyland Forever, Electrical Parade, World of Color Fantastic.
Well, I'm going to be optimistic here, because I feel like there's been a couple other stories that I wasn't very optimistic for. But I'm going to hope that this is good news because, to my knowledge, Disney has not had a Disney quality video of a current parade out for people on the internet to be able to see. Of course, yes, we have ones that people have,
which are also really good,
that people have gone in and filmed and uploaded themselves to the internet. But I don't think I don't remember. I could be very wrong, but I don't remember having a Disney quality video other than maybe a holiday, like a holiday parade, or some sort of like special thing where they also aired it on TV. But so I'm going to pretend that this is a good thing.
Yeah.
And it means that Magic Happens will be coming back as the daytime parade in the future. In the hopefully near future.
This is way off topic for this kind of, but I just want to comment on this because it's always driven me crazy about Disney's recorded stuff. So they've recorded things like they've recorded the fireworks spectacular in Paris was an example I was thinking of. And they broadcasted and recorded the Harmonious when it premiered at Epcot and all this. And I feel like whoever decides the camera shots and what to look at specific times during these shows is not very good. Because what I want is a wide angle shot from some crazy location that nobody on YouTube would ever be able to get a shot from.
Sure.
With nobody in the way. That's the shot I want. I want a wide shot of whatever the show is. I don't need it to zoom in and look at one particular aspect on the castle or whatever. I just wish that they would just, and a parade's harder, right? Mm-hmm. What I would like is I'd like a couple different shots. I'd like as it comes down, I'd like maybe a close-up shot of the characters being funny, but I want some shot in there that shows the full float or whatever for a second. So I get like I get my bearings of what I'm looking at, and I'm not just looking at some close-up shot of something. Anyway, off my soapbox. I just wanted to say that Disney is so good at things, but I feel like they're really terrible at producing videos of their spectaculars and parades.
Well, like I said, I'm gonna remain.
But I like your thought.
I'm gonna remain optimistic that this might be a good sign, because at first I was like, oh no, why are they wiping off like Poor Magic Happens, or now it's not even allowed to be on the internet. We've taken, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just feel so sad for this parade because it lasted, weeks.
I think it'll come
just
back.
a couple of weeks, and it was a brand new parade, brand new floats, brand new music for it. They were so pumped and like building it up at the D23 Expo in 2019. So it has to come back. I feel like it does. Maybe it'll go to DCA instead of Disneyland.
Parade, sort of. But here's my question for you. Because we've gotten a lot of people messaging us this week. When do you think the electrical parade's going to sparkle off again? I said at least through summer until the holiday stuff comes.
So until like the Christmas Fantasy Parade comes, because there's not like a daily Halloween time parade. So I would say, and it could even be, I don't know how that would work, because they do Christmas Fantasy at night too, don't they?
They do.
So you can't really have both parades going unless they could just keep it, because I feel like they invested in it for its 50th, because we have that brand new finale float. So I don't think it's just going to be like here and gone quickly. I think since they put some time and money and effort into it, and they've hyped it up, and it's the 50th anniversary, it's going to be around for a while. What about this? What if they move it during the holidays time over to DCA?
I was thinking about that. I was also thinking, what if they made... I don't think this will happen, because I feel like Disneyland is attached so much to Christmas that they won't move like the Christmas party and stuff to DCA, because I feel like that would be something they could do.
Maybe, I don't know. They moved but
I think Halloween fits with DCA better than
I was going to say, but Halloween was moved, so I guess why not? Because DCA has become more of the quote unquote after hours party park kind of thing.
But I think people have a lot of Christmas and holiday like nostalgia with Disneyland, where they didn't have that with Halloween and all these other things. But so what they could do is they could move like you said, move the electrical parade over to DCA, and then we'll see.
I think it'll be around for a little while. I don't know. I think it'll be around more than just this season. I think we'll see it again next year. I don't think so. They had made. I didn't realize this. I was doing a deep dive on Main Street Electrical Parade history. They had. We are so just rambling on tonight. We won't even go into it because it doesn't really matter. I don't because
you want to talk about it during like
not even that. It's just such a like tangent that I was going to go on. That anyways, I don't think they're going to. They had in the past taken the electrical parade and shipped it around.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're going to keep doing that, because I think that was very hard on the floats.
Oh, I'm sure.
So yeah, that's all I was going to say there.
Avast there. There be squalls ahead, and James and Vern waiting for them what don't answer correctly.
All right, it's time for Trivia Land.
Wow, that is so much excitement.
Just pumping up the energy. It's been too long since I've been here.
And we've also made him wait a very long time tonight.
I'm a patient guy. Trivia Land waits. Trivia Land isn't complete without you two coming here and hopefully struggling through some questions.
Well, I guess we'll see how we do. I am cautiously optimistic that we're going to do okay.
That's the spirit.
But it's you, which means we're probably screwed.
Oh, I thought I used to be the nice guy.
Yeah, but you're probably are these your questions or
these
are they
my questions this week?
Well, we'll have to see.
We'll find out. Let's get started. Our first one, gone but not forgotten. How many flowers made up the signature Minnie Mouse bow and eyelashes when she took over in the flowers near the train
station? Didn't we just talk about this?
We probably did. I don't know. I don't remember talking about how many flowers.
I thought we talked about how many flowers made up like the whole thing at one time. I'm going to say it's a lot for the whole thing. So I'm going to say like, I don't know, 1,200.
Really?
And that's probably low.
Really?
Because isn't it made up of like 40,000 plants or something ridiculous like that?
Okay, you and I are
are you waiting for me to weigh in
No.
on this?
two very different wavelengths, because I was like, my initial thought was like 250 flowers made up the bow and the eyelashes. And here you are in the thousands.
Because the only reason I remember this is because whenever we either talked about it or had a trivia question that asked about like how many flowers make up the Mickey floral, and we guessed low numbers. I think I said like,
did we guess low? See, I thought we guessed high and it was low. Either way,
maybe you're right.
Okay, so what did you say now?
I said 1,200.
1,200. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna stick with my. Maybe I'll go up a little. I'll go to 400.
400. Okay.
Yeah, for the bow and eyelashes. Yeah.
Great. You're going to have to wait a second because my document just froze.
Oh, no.
Your document is so full of awesome trivia that Google just can't handle it.
I mean, I don't blame it. It is fantastic. All right, question number 2. Where in the park can you find a baby picture of Walt Disney?
Oh, in the child care center.
There's a baby picture of Walt in there? Oh, well,
that's my guess.
I'm gonna hop on board with Teresa.
I don't know if I want to show you how confident I am in that, but I'm fairly confident in the child care center.
I mean, that would be an appropriate place to have that, I suppose.
All right, third question. True or false? 50-50 shot. Disneyland Park is larger than Disney California Adventure.
Well, now. Are we talking about like square footage, or are we talking about attraction?
I'm talking about acres.
Okay.
Well, DCA was built on the 100-acre parking lot, and I think Disneyland.
It's
Well, see, it
180.
gets hard.
I'm going to say Disneyland.
I'm going to say though it's harder because Disneyland in the beginning, Disneyland was smaller than its parking lot, but Disneyland has like expanded, like Galaxy's Edge and Toontown and stuff.
I'm going to say true. I'm going to say Disneyland.
So the question was: is Disneyland bigger than DCA?
True or false? Disneyland is larger than California Adventure.
I'm going to say false. So one of us will be wrong and one of us will be right.
All right. Our final question this week is a list question for you. Please put the mountains of the Disneyland park in order from shortest to longest in terms of track length.
Oh, in terms of track.
Okay, well, stop.
length.
Let's write down what they are. So we've got the Matterhorn.
We've got
Big Thunder,
Big Thunder, and Splash.
And Splash. Now, are you counting the Flume as track, James?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If I could put quotation marks and my fingers making the quotation marks in this audio podcast, I totally would.
Okay, and then how are you counting Matterhorn? Are you counting both sides?
Individual side,
okay,
so one or the
Matterhorn's
other.
The shortest. I'm going to say Matterhorn's the shortest. I think Space might be next. Big Thunder. I feel like Splash is... Maybe it's not that long because you're going through it slower. I was going to say, but it feels like a longer attraction.
Yeah, but you're going slower.
But you're going slower. Dang it.
I'm going to say...
Gosh, same thing with Big Thunder because I don't know. Maybe you're not going faster on Big Thunder than
I'm going to say...
Okay, Space is going to go here.
And you're saying just one side of the Matterhorn?
Yes.
Okay.
One or the other, it does not change its position.
Okay. I'm going to say Matterhorn.
Okay, I changed mine.
Matterhorn, Splash, Big Thunder, Space.
Well, would you look at that? That's what I wrote down too. Matterhorn, Splash, Big Thunder, and Space.
Because the Matterhorn, I feel... It loops a lot, but it feels like it's over pretty quick. A Splash, I feel like you're going slower. Big Thunder feels like it'd be pretty long, but I feel
it's
like
a speed thing again.
But I think Space Mountain is longer because you're going faster more consistently than you are on Big Thunder.
Yep.
And I agree with Lee. This is a difficult question because all these attractions twist around so much.
It's a good question, I think, is what you mean.
I like it, actually.
It's true. We'll see how well you two figured out that game of speed and distance going on after our discussion topic this week.
Well, this week for the show, we are welcoming the Nebraska State poet, Matt, who actually just has a brand new poetry book all about our favorite place, Disneyland. So welcome, Matt. We're very excited to have you here.
Hey, I'm excited to be here, too. Thanks for bringing me in.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on and talking about your book. So let's start where we always start with these things. So tell us about your Disney story. What got you interested in Disney and or Disneyland? Kind of what brought you to where you are today?
That's kind of a two-part answer for me. The real start was going when I was a kid, when I was 4. So 1973, my parents took me and my older brothers and sisters to Disneyland. And it was kind of one of those amazing experiences. And then after that, you know, if you're driving around Omaha, there's this old, I think it was an Alpo plant, but these metallic things sticking up. And every time we would think, I was like, is that Disneyland? I think he was off on the horizon. You know, I think that really got things started. But what got the book and a whole new thing started was I turned 49 a few years ago and had what was horribly embarrassing to me. It felt like a midlife crisis like you see on a bad sitcom, where it's just like I woke up and was obsessed with Disneyland and Disneyland history. And, you know, I have always liked Disneyland. I've been a few times in my life, but this was like looking up on YouTube to watch the 1955 opening day live telecast, reading books, reading articles, listening to podcasts, all tons of podcasts, you know, after doing this for a couple months. But, you know, I wasn't writing. I was just doing all this reading and watching and everything and listening. And that my wife, who's a poet, she sees this going on as much as I'm trying to hide it. And she's like, yeah, you're a writer. You're doing research. You should maybe write some poems. So it got me going, and now I've got a book.
That's awesome.
Man, what a nice, you know, sometimes you just fall into these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of like a midlife crisis, which a lot of people, I think, would look at as a negative thing, but it's turned into this great thing that now you have this poetry book. So that's so awesome.
Yeah, and it was fun. You know, I mean, the whole process of writing about anything, you figure things out. And it took writing a book of poetry about Disneyland to figure out, why did I wake up this one day in this, you know, different state of mind? So
apparently you had a visit from Tinkerbell and she sprinkled a little of her pixie dust on you that evening or something sparked something inside. That's very neat. Yeah. Very neat.
You know, I hope when I have my midlife crisis that it's like yours, because there's the other ones where it's like you buy like a convertible and do all this really silly stuff. You know, waking up and having a sudden passion for Disneyland and writing a book, I don't think that's bad.
Yeah, it works.
So when you visit Disneyland and you're entering on the first day of your trip, which way do you like to go? Do you like to go left towards Adventureland, forward through the castle to Fantasyland, hang a right to Tomorrowland? How do you attack the park?
I mean, the realistic way is I zigzag in that right in the gates, I go left to go under the berm, under the railroad track. Yep. I don't know why I never want to go right, but whatever. Because I always end up going towards Tomorrowland. Because usually my first ride of the day will be Space Mountain. So
got to get the blood pumping in the morning, I guess.
I think I know why you do that. So a lot of people go under the right tunnel and head to Adventureland. So you're just like beating the crowd. You're like, nope, too many people over there. I'm going left. And now you're, you know, instead of Adventureland, you're like, no, too many people. I'm going to go over.
See, you know what's really funny? The last few people we've interviewed have talked about the way they go under the tunnel. Mm-hmm. And I never even considered, like, I don't ever think about it.
We always go right.
We do always go right.
Yeah.
And there's just, I don't know why, there's just something about that side that calls to me or something. I don't know. Abe Lincoln is like, come.
And I'm heading towards Walt's apartment. So,
there you go.
Know.
See, you would think Walt's apartment would draw me in. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I will tell you, one of the things I do like, and I realized it, this sounds really silly that I did not realize this before, but I think on the last trip we were there, that you get another reveal of the castle, like, because you don't see it when you come out of the tunnel. You have to like walk past the little end thing of Main Street
Yeah.
to see the
Town Square.
So anyway,
Yeah.
well, okay. So, well, I mean, we may already have an answer for this one, but what is your
do.
favorite attraction?
It's Space Mountain. That is the one.
What is it about Space Mountain that makes it so awesome for you?
Man, it is just, I love the concept of a roller coaster in the dark anyway. I like how they mix it up with different ways. I love the surf guitar, especially that version. And it's just, so darn fun.
So how do you feel about Hyperspace Mountain and Ghost Galaxy?
Yeah, I've done Hyperspace Mountain and I like it. I prefer old school.
Sure.
And Ghost Galaxy, I've never been on. So I hope to someday get that experience.
It's interesting. It's more intense than you would think it would be because it's got this scary ghost flaming skull thing that's chasing you around the whole time. I will never forget the first time I went on it because I went with my cousin's children. They were 4 and 8 at the time. And I'm like, oh, it's just Space Mountain. We're just flying around in the stars. It's fine. So I had to
Nope.
I was sitting with the 4-year-old and I was trying so hard to distract her from this terrifying, scary skull that's flaming, chasing us around because it's very not what you would expect for Disney.
Sure.
Wow. That is happening. Yeah.
Maybe that's why it hasn't been back for a little while.
Scared the
Maybe they got
bejesus
too
out of
many
people.
too many complaints
Yeah,
of the
they're like,
children being scared.
That
I
was
will
too
say there
much.
is something about Space Mountain. On a tech podcast I listen to, actually, they always pick a question from the audience to start the show, and this one was like, "What's your favorite attraction at Disneyland?" Well, his favorite attraction
Did
was
you
Big.
submit it?
It was Big Thunder Mountain. But they talked about Space Mountain afterwards, and they said there's just something really awesome about a roller coaster in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just love it. I'm a sucker for that.
As much as I would love to ride it with the lights on just for the experience, I'm sure it's probably not nearly as fun. It's probably really
No.
good.
God, I did
Yeah.
once.
You did?
Yes.
Tell
There
us
was
about it.
There was some kind of problem, and the lights went on, and I think it stopped a little bit, but then it got running again, and they kept the lights on during it. It's like, wow, it's very, it's not that attractive, but it was cool. It's
Yeah.
just kind of white, I think, on a domed ceiling of some sort, and then roller coaster. But it was cool to see.
I mean, we got to see a little bit of it.
Yeah, we were on the second to last break stop before you were in the photo tunnel, so we didn't get to see too much of it. So we got to do the last turn.
We got a taste of it.
Yeah, we got the last the final turn was all we got to do. We were talking. We're like, what if you were one of the people that was up on the lift hill when
But
this
see,
happened? Do you
we're
get to
the
go through whole
crazy
thing?
people, though, because we see when people break down on stuff, we're always like, dang it, they're so lucky. We're like, I'm sure 95% of the people that go to the park, they consider that bad
Right,
and unwanted.
unlucky.
But we're like, can it just break down?
Well, it's like the woman that was in our car or in our space vehicle, our rocket. There you go. That was the word I was looking for. We got back to the loading zone, and since it stopped mid show for us, they said, "Do you want to go again?" And she said, "Well, is that going to happen again?"
Oh my God,
It was
the
so
answer
funny.
is yes. You say yes.
Yeah, she's like, "Well, is it going to stop again or whatever?" We're like, "What? You can get off. We're going again."
Yeah.
We'll get to the book and we'll get to your passion of Disneyland, but I'm curious, how did you get into poetry and how did you get into becoming the Nebraska state poet?
I got into poetry when I was in high school, and there was a girl who didn't call me back. So I started writing. And even though at the time I didn't think I liked poetry, the poetry you study in high school doesn't always connect with you.
Sure,
but
yeah.
I discovered that writing these things down in the forms of poems, it just helped me figure out things. I think for me, I've always been a stereotypical guy with a lot going on in my head and a lot going on in my heart, and then a wall in between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what art does. Writing, painting, song. puts a door in that wall so that you can, I think, figure things out a little bit better in your own life and in the world. So I started writing and kept writing, and eventually did a lot of work around Nebraska. I go, through different programs with the Nebraska Arts Council, been around the state, and I run a nonprofit that works with poets and poetry programs, especially with high schools and middle schools. Mm-hmm. And so was named Nebraska State Poet, kind of as a like a lifetime achievement award, I guess.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's a 5-year term, and it's been great. I've been getting around the state even more. So there's been a little like 2.5 year gap. But,
yeah.
Been zooming around Nebraska more in that time. But back to it's great to be back on the road. I love doing readings. And just love writing with students and communities. So it's a lot of fun.
Now, did Nebraska do to you like Disneyland did to the ambassadors? Are they extending your 5-year period because of all of this terrible COVID stuff? Or is it kind of, you still had a couple years?
Well, it's a complicated process. I would love another year or something like that, but I'm not sure if they can.
Sure.
It's 3 different arts agencies, and they decide the name they send to the governor, and then the governor can sign it or not. And, who knows? So,
the governor just doesn't feel like it that day. Like, nope, not you.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Very cool, though.
So,
okay, so we've gotten into your sudden passion and interest and wanting to just know everything you want to possibly know about Disneyland. Your wife told you, hey, why don't you, connect the dots here? Why don't you take 2 things that you're very passionate about and bring them together? How do you even go about doing that? How did you draw inspiration being in Nebraska, writing about Disneyland? How do you even know where to start? There's just so many amazing things about Disneyland. I'm overwhelmed just trying to figure out how to phrase the question.
How do you put it into poetry that I think is challenging to write in and of itself?
Yeah, for me, it works just because I make myself start a new poem every week. So I've got a routine, I've got a deadline. So I'm looking for things to write about. And with Disneyland, it is easy. If you look at the whole thing, no way. But if you look at like one brick, you can write a poem about that one brick or one ride or one experience. So I started looking at the experiences I've had at Disneyland, the trip in 1973 with my parents, a couple trips I made when I was in college, a trip after college. And then I went with my family in 2015. And so just looking at little bits like that and just writing. And then part of the writing too, that was just a poem here, a poem there. And it really kind of accelerated. I made a few trips to Disneyland in 2018 just for this project. I did a writing residency in Disneyland for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Put together by me. And with thanks to airline miles and I think either Priceline or Hotwire, and the fact that annual passes were much less expensive before the end of January 2018. So it helped. So I spent a couple weeks. There's a table I would gravitate towards up outside of Jolly Holiday, up top row on the right, with your back Tiki Land. And I spent a lot of time there writing and then editing poems, sending poems to magazines, but also then what kind of job lets you do work, and then when you need to take a break, you can go ride the Jungle Cruise or something like that.
Go get yourself a Dole Whip or something. That's amazing.
I have to ask about this. So I listen to a bunch of different podcasts, and one of the podcasts lists is a tech thing, and there's a guy on there who loves Disneyland, him and his wife, and loves Star Wars. And he talks all the time about how he will take his laptop or his iPad, and he will go to Batuu, get a seat, and he will like write or do work or whatever. So I have to ask, what is it? Well, it's kind of a 2-part question. One, what is it like to be in a place that people are on vacation and you're sitting there working. And then the second part is, do people look at you kind of odd that you're like sitting there doing work? Because when Teresa and I have taken our recorder in and we're doing podcast stuff, it's kind of interesting because people don't really pay too close attention. Like they'll look at you funny, but they won't like, it's almost like they kind of expect it in a weird kind of way. I don't know if it's like YouTube has done this to people or what, but what is the work process like? What is it like to work there, and how do people react to that when you're working?
You know, it was pretty low key. I think people in Disneyland are just polite. It's like, oh, what are they doing? Oh, must be a reason. Because I'd be there with my laptop up, or half the time with a notebook. And, there'd be somebody bussing tables who would start up a conversation. And they're the only folks who asked me. Like, no guests ever asked stuff like that. And and it's a lot of fun, too. I did a lot of photos with the PhotoPass. So in scenes where I'm writing and they're taking photos with me and Goofy, with Goofy looking at my notebook.
How fun.
Yeah,
I think you got another book right there.
Yeah, right.
A photo book. An author's photo book.
Got a bunch of photos, from Space Mountain or Splash Mountain where everybody's screaming and I'm writing in a book. So, in process.
Wow.
Okay, so now I have to ask. I'm sure you used attractions as different inspirations for different poems. Did you actually bring your notebook with you, and were any poems that made it to the book at least start being penned while you're on the attraction?
Oh, yeah. There's a whole poem that I wrote on Pirates of the Caribbean.
Ooh.
In the dark, which means it was tough to read and edit afterwards. But I did get a poem that way for the book. But yeah, otherwise I would have them out. I was really worried about Splash Mountain, though, having the notebook out for the photo, but then not wanting it to get soaked because, ink, water, things can happen.
It's pretty hard to not get soaked on Splash Mountain, too.
Yeah.
So, but it survived.
It did. It made it through.
So because you were writing in that one location for a couple weeks, were there cast members that you kind of made friends with in that time that, like that's that's where they work every day. And so they're like, oh, hey, you're back again. Like, did you have any of that kind of experience?
So not too much. There was one guy who was bussing tables a little bit. I wasn't there every day. I would kind of mix up my writing. That was my favorite spot, though. That was the best. But half the time, though, I would go towards my table and there'd be some person there thinking they can eat a macaron or soup.
You're like,
how dare you? This
me.
is my office.
Exactly. I work here.
What you should do is you should have sat on the porch on Main Street that everybody likes to sit on.
Well, I could never get there. I think every time I went by there were, it was capacity. So.
You know what you got to do? You got to stand by it, and you got to kind of got to give them the eye. That's what I think we've done is if you just stand there and kind of just wait for it, eventually they'll catch on that you're kind of waiting for it, and eventually people will get up. Because isn't that kind of what happened with you and your group, Teresa?
Oh, yeah, the porch on Main Street.
Like, didn't you just kind of hang out until people left?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. We
that's
also,
what you gotta do.
That's how we got, for our rehearsal dinner, that's how we ended up with the space at Tangaroa Terrace.
You just sit there and hover.
We had like one table and we just kind of slowly spread out.
It worked out well. It worked out
very well.
Nice. I think my one real regret is not writing a poem in that spot. So,
but round 2. That's your next 2-week deep immerse yourself into Disneyland for the second book.
I like it.
There you go. I like it too. So I'm still stuck on this Pirates of the Caribbean poem written. I just how did that go for you? So because A, I seem to get wet on that attraction, and B, I get very, very distracted very easily, especially at Disneyland. So is the poem about the attraction? Was it about something else? How were you able to stay focused and be able to pen this poem in the attraction?
Well, I think the key is to not worry about staying focused. So,
Sure.
but here, I'll read you some of it. It's the poem is called "Poem Review," composed on Disneyland's Pirates of the Caribbean. So, you ride a boat, New Orleans themed restaurant. Nobody barely looks up from their Monte Cristo sandwiches. Guy pulls at some banjo strings in sync with the crickets as your boat rolls past. Around a bend, a skull wearing a hat says something, but before you can gather what he's trying to tell you, the bottom drops, the waterfall splash, and robot skeletons. Droids, you forget the right name, tell you all sorts of tales while telling you they don't tell tales. So basically, it's kind of taking details from the whole ride and just writing down a smattering of detail as fast as I can, because that first part is like, once the ride gets moving, it's just like stuff. So mostly I just wrote down details and sentences and then tried to read them afterwards.
I feel like
That's
you know,
fun.
you got to come back up to the loading station and you look at the cast member and you say, "I'm writing a poem. Can you just send me through again?"
I just need one more.
I need one more loop. Like, just.
I am the Nebraska State poet. You would let me go again.
I always joke with Teresa, and I
That's
mean
really
that, and this is
incredible.
100% a joke. But I always say when we want to do something, I'm like, Teresa, you just got to go and be like, "Do you know who we are?"
We're two Midwesterners that love Disneyland. That's who we are.
We have a podcast. No, we were appalled. There was like a influencer who like had some big hoopla because they cut in front of some children for a parade or something, and they were like, "Well, I'm an influencer," and I'm like, "Ew, I'm so glad we don't do that."
No, not that at all. Well, thank you for reading an excerpt of that. I'm seriously like, I do not know anything about poetry. I'll be very, very honest. But of course, a book about Disneyland is always interesting to me. So I'm just very excited to see how a poet interprets and sees Disneyland compared to just, how us regular park goers see it. Because I'm sure there are things, because again, it's information overload there, which is amazing. And that's why it's so cool to go back over and over and over again, because there's so many different things. So I'm very, very excited to be able to kind of see it through your eyes.
Yeah, well, I mean, you and all Disneyland fans are the audience I wrote this for. I think a lot of books of poetry get written for poets, and that's one kind of way of looking at it that I do quite a bit myself too. But this was really written for folks who maybe don't know anything about poetry or who hated poetry in high school, but love Disneyland. So this was really for the Disney fans, and I had a lot of fun with it that way.
Maybe somebody who doesn't understand or get poetry because they've read stuff that just doesn't interest them, and it's hard to like something when you're not interested in it. Maybe this will turn some Disneyland fans into poetry lovers, because they'll be like, "Oh, I kind of get it now because it's talking about this thing I understand, and I get how that relates to that now. So when I read other poetry, I can understand maybe how that might relate to something," and kind of make that bridge for people to find something new that they're excited about. So how many poems are in the book?
I really should know off the top of my head. I will say there's 80 pages worth. That's about 50 or 60. So.
And did any not make the book that you...
Oh, there's a lot of B-sides. There's anything from like one poem about Tower of Terror. That's like, I've only got one DCA poem. It doesn't really fit in the book. To others that just either weren't as good as the others or didn't quite fit the theme that developed. Exploring midlife and Churro. And some that were just too weird, like from the in the 1955 TV live thing, there's so much happening. I've got a few weird poems, like one of them about the Davy Crockett song and dance about the gun Old Betsy, and it's just bizarre watching this. And the poem just didn't work in the collection. so things like that. So there's a lot, and some that I've written after the book got picked up that I think, oh, this would be great, but maybe the sequel.
Volume 2.
I like it.
Yeah.
Volume 2. So, okay, so 50 to 60 poems. So that's, I would say there's probably more than just attraction-based poems in that
and
mix.
all Disneyland, apparently.
And all Disneyland.
I was going to ask
So
about
what
that.
are some of the other
Disneyland Paris.
themes? Ooh.
Or
Oh.
actually, Euro Disney, not Disneyland Paris yet. So.
Gotcha. So what are some of the other themes that or things that you drew inspiration from?
It is really, it ended up being an exploration of that weird midlife crisis. So midlife, being 49, 50, middle of my life, taking my life in stock. And it also ended up being a lot about my parents. They're the ones who first took me there. They're the ones who kind of started the fire. And they both passed away. And this all started just a few years after my mom passed. But the trip with my family, with my 2 daughters and my wife, was shortly after my mom passed away, and it was directly related because we had a little bit of money from the estate that we put responsibly towards paying down bills and college funds, and then had this kind of little bit like, well, let's go somewhere. Where will we go? I think my parents would want me to go to Disneyland. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really
so
beautiful.
It all kind of plays in, and it's kind of looking at what this obsession came from, why Disneyland is on my mind like it is, and I think kind of realizing that it's a hub in my life. All these different times in my life intersect in this place that is, it changes year to year, but it's essentially the same streets, the same sidewalks, the same views to an extent, the same trees that have grown up. So it's really this kind of amazing place for my life.
Now, does your wife and family share some of your love for Disneyland?
Or are they supportive?
Yeah.
well, my daughters definitely, because this all started, our 2015 trip. I had a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old, and man, those are good years to take to Disneyland. And my wife is not going to object to a vacation. She's not as fixated on Disneyland, but she'll go. So they've been great, and a couple of the best parts of the book came in that year, 2018, when I had the annual pass. Man, did I try to use that, and made a couple trips that summer with just one daughter with me. So a one-on-one trip with the daughter away from the other one. And those were probably my 2 favorite trips. I mean, even the 2-week writing residency was fantastic, but it was these trips there with just one daughter, getting to see Disneyland through their eyes, more specifically, do what they want. It was a blast. And I think some of the best poems in the book actually ended up coming from those trips, even though they were, just a couple days.
That's amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you had a specific 2-week trip just for the book, and then you had all of these past trips to kind of draw your inspiration from too. How do you think, if, say you were a California resident and you were able to go to Disneyland frequently versus being like us out here in the Midwest, having to admire our favorite place from afar, do you think that was helpful? Do you think maybe, did that give you a different perspective on how this book turned out and how these poems were?
Yeah, definitely. I think the fact that Disneyland is not something that would be possible for me to take for granted. I work for a nonprofit and I'm a poet, so I'm not making a lot of trips around the country. But it's a little bit extra special. And not that it's any worse if you're a California resident, but I think it's a much different book than if I would have been a California resident.
Well, and I think the cool thing too is you got to, like, through your deep dive of the history and all that stuff, you're also, I'm sure, drawing inspiration from, like you said, the opening day speech and, other aspects that aren't, something that you can get from
not
being in the park.
first-hand experience. Getting it from historical perspective. Yeah, I think that I think it's different, right? Because like all of us, and you're included with that, Matt, in the Midwest. It's when we go, it is, even like Teresa and I who have gone more recently, it still feels very special to go.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to, I feel like if I lived closer and went more often, I would eventually get to a point where it isn't as special. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a treat to go to Disneyland. It's just kind of like I get to go to Disneyland.
Still special, but just different.
Yeah, it's just not like, to me, it's like it's like you could go out to dinner at that fancy restaurant every once in a while, and that's like really nice because it's like that special treat. Like, it's just a little something extra. Where if you went and ate there all the time, it wouldn't be that something extra anymore. It would just be a really good place to eat. So that's kind of what I think about. Because when I lived in California, I felt like that as well. I lived in Northern California, so it was still a few hours away, but. There's definitely like a difference there, but do you have a favorite poem from the book that you'd like to share, either all or part of, for our listeners?
Yeah, I don't know if it's they're all my children. I love them all. But
he sounds like you, Teresa. How can I pick?
It's an impossible choice sometimes.
But I thought, for some reason, I was thinking of this one as we were just talking. This is a poem about the dark side of travel. It's called Disneyland 2018. And this is about a trip we made at the end of January, the first trip of the year. It was a whole family trip, but Disneyland 2018. Your youngest, throat went wrong days before you left, wobbled off balance, recovered just in time to be the only functional one of you. Your wife staring through you all as if you were ghosts. You hoping that these feelings are not about vomit. It is sadness to acknowledge that if one eats anything shaped like Mickey's head, there will be repercussions. Your oldest hasn't left the hotel room. She groans in the daybed, does homework from the classes she's missing. You, in slow motion, day by day, have blossomed into cough, sniffle, groan. Your youngest dances. She is the generator who could juice all of Space Mountain and more. She asks questions, bounces bed to floor. The sinus behind your right eye slowly cracking the walnut shell of your skull. Stares, small twitch, and sigh. You feel like the poison apples in the happiest place on earth, the ones who bring this all down.
Wow. You know what that reminded me of? That reminded me of that Vomit and whatever book that we read. Because it's like you go to this amazing place and you're so excited. And from that, the one that ended up being fine was sick beforehand. Yeah. And she recovered, and you guys were all terrible.
Yeah. And I think anybody who travels a lot knows this story. So it's like, oh, we can't cancel. Oh, gosh.
We're just going to have to power through.
I love that you had in there, the how could it be that anything shaped like Mickey's head, there'd be repercussions.
Yeah. It is so wrong. So wrong.
Wow.
So that poem
that was
right
wonderful.
there.
Thank you.
That poem right there makes me want to read this book because that painted such a vivid picture for me of like an entire trip in such a short amount of time, and the language worked so well. And it was funny. Like there was some amusement, but also sadness. Yeah. Like it was an emotional roller coaster.
It was an emotional whirlwind.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And then, spoiler alert, that's the one. It was. Oh no, it wasn't a DCA attraction.
That's true.
Man, now I'm excited for this book. Well, let's talk about that real quick. We've talked about this book. Where can people get it?
Well, before that, what is the title of the book? Because we haven't even gone over the title of the book.
Oh my
yet.
goodness.
The book is called At the Corner of Fantasy and Maine, Disneyland, Midlife, and Churros.
And where can people get a copy or order a copy? Do you have any idea when they might get it?
Yeah, you can get this anywhere. You can pre-order from the press, put up by the Old Mill Press, theoldmillpress.com. But you can also order it from your fine, upstanding local independent bookstore or any place online that sells books. You can order them. The official book release date was April 5th, but except for the copy I have and the publisher has, there's about 2,000 copies of this book on a boat coming from Korea. Order now, but it may be a few weeks before it shows up. But it's coming, and I'm excited.
Hang out at the Port of Long Beach and just look for the container coming in.
Get them to hurry it up.
So I do have a question. Every time we talk about the description or the title, there's a part of this that we have not touched on, which is the churros.
We've hinted at the churros, but yes, we haven't discussed.
So tell us about the churros. Where does that filter into this whole epic?
Well, it might filter in similar to how I'm a Midwesterner thinking of Disneyland. I'm also a diabetic thinking of churros. So it is a little bit tougher. But I think the best part for me is that in Disneyland, you're walking 20,000 steps a day, whereas normally I get up a couple times. So I'm watching my blood sugar. It's getting a little bit low, a little bit more than normal. And there's a churro cart, within throwing distance anytime you're there. So, so with that, here's a churro poem for you. A poem called Song of Your Churro. Life would hold more joy were a churro in your hand. No. A churro in your hand, but a bite in your mouth too. A crunch, a star on your tongue, sugar, cinnamon. The rest then in your hand to punctuate, exclamation mark, there to sing its own acclaim.
I think that should be posted on every churro cart in Disneyland.
That should just be the wrapper.
Exactly.
Printed on every wrapper.
Exactly. I think that captures the essence of a churro.
It does.
Are you listening, Mr. JPEG?
Yes.
Let's negotiate the rights.
I think he's the wrong person. We'll get Josh tomorrow maybe to...
Who's in charge of the food?
Oh, that's a good question. But I'll tell you though, if for somebody who's never had a churro, you covered all of the beats of a churro. The flavors, the texture,
the shape.
The texture, the shape. I felt like I was eating a churro when he was talking about this.
That's awesome.
And now I'm frustrated because I don't have a churro in my hand.
I'm frustrated that there are no churros.
That means a success. I think a good poem makes you feel something as much as you understand something. So.
Makes me feel like I want a churro. Now, I want to shoot this over to Teresa. Now, do you have any poems about Dole Whips?
Let me find out. So there's a few poems in the book that are one of the fun things as I started writing this is I ended up writing some poems where different lands meet and exploring the parts where they come together.
Yeah.
And so these are the At the Corner poems. So let me just thumb through. I know it's here somewhere.
See, another part of the title, At the Corner. See? Look at this.
Yeah. That's the title poem is one of these ones.
It's like he was a Nebraska state poet or something. It's like he knows. Know. It's like he knows what he's doing or something.
His stuff.
Yeah. So here's the poem. And one thing I think it mentioned. No, it doesn't mention it. But just so you know, my dad was. It was really cool. He was born in Hawaii, and his birth certificate was said that he was born in the territory of Hawaii because he was born in 1921. So he plays into this because I think part of my love of Dole Whips is directly related to my dad. So at the corner of adventure and frontier, At the corner of Adventure and Frontier, where wisps of pineapple frost rise in crests, where there are lines of people on either side of a tiki counter, sits your dad's ghost, blue and white flowers in full bloom on his shirt from the island where he was born. He is a spirit on a bench next to a giant bird of paradise tree. Your oldest daughter sits down with him, her hands around a Dole Whip cup, though you don't think she sees him. She is in stillness, eyes closed, approaching this universe like a hibiscus in full bliss.
That's beautiful.
That was beautiful.
That was really beautiful. I was all excited about, living vicariously through that.
Dole Whip,
That just touched my heart, though. That was really, really special.
I will tell you, Teresa knows that I am heart of stone over here, and I was moved by that.
Yeah.
So, because I could visualize it, and because you explained before about the history there and your personal connection, and that's
amazing.
It's beautiful.
So not only do we have, fun anecdotes about, pirates singing yo-ho, yo-ho, or star-shaped treats with cinnamon and sugar, we've got very meaningful and very beautiful stuff too. This
book is
cool.
a roller coaster ride of
It is.
Disneyland.
I mean, the whole journey of figuring out what was going on inside my head and my body, it hit every emotion, and there's a lot of joy, and that's much of the book is about that joy, but it's to get to the joy, you got to kind of explore everything else.
Yeah. Wow.
And that one was fun because my dad died in 1990, so my daughters have never met my dad, so it was just kind of something about that connection, and that was one of the trips where I was just there with that daughter.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I could see my daughter meeting my dad. So that was awesome.
That's so cool.
Now,
so cool.
So did this book do what I assume it set out to do, which is, did it deliver you from your midlife crisis?
No.
Really?
He's like, I'm still obsessed with.
Well, that's why there's going to be a volume 2.
Yeah.
There might have to.
Well, what I mean is, like, usually people hit the midlife thing, and it's kind of like they want to like move through it. So that's what I was trying to see if you got through that.
It did. I think getting me to the point where I at least understood what was happening and why helped. But at this point, though, now I'm still, I'm listening to podcasts, as you should understand, and still, there's this pandemic, of course, that made it harder to go to Disneyland, but still trying to figure out when and how I can do things like that, and still reading articles and doing all the same stuff, maybe writing about it a little bit less now that I'm really happy with this collection I've got, but who knows, at some point there could be a sequel.
Well, DCA, you didn't do DCA, so
that's true. Yeah.
So there you go. There's part 2, and then Downtown Disney.
And
then you need to do the hotels.
Matt, I'm going to give you some bad news, and everybody who's listening to this podcast, I think already knows this. But the Disneyland affliction doesn't really ever go away.
Yeah.
That's what I've understood.
If anything, it just gets worse.
Yeah, you just keep digging deeper.
And, some people can get out early, but once you're in as deep as you are, that's that.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, welcome to the club. I'll tell you, though, I will tell you, it is full, and Teresa, I think, will agree with this, especially the people we've met through the podcast. This community is full of wonderful
amazing people, really amazing people.
So you're in good company.
Yes.
Yeah. On this whole journey, I've met a lot of folks, and just so many fantastic people. So it's there's a lot of joy in the group.
For sure. So I'm curious. Are you the first or one of the few poetry books dedicated to specifically Disneyland or a Disney park? I feel like this is a very unique thing.
Yeah.
I have looked just to see what else is out there and have found nothing. So I feel I can confidently say this is the greatest book of Disneyland poetry ever written. So you should pick up 5 copies now.
So you should pick up 5. It's because it's going to be historic because it was the first.
It will be. It will be.
So
yeah, actually, you've got a book of Disneyland poetry written. What do you then do? And I'm looking at Disney publishers, almost no poetry, and the poetry they have isn't Disneyland poetry.
Sure.
And then, looking at poetry publishers, seeing if there's anybody out there who publishes Disney stuff, and nobody. So I'm sending, emails out, approaching people. No one's writing back. And I'm thinking this book is never going to be picked up because it's a combo that nobody would know what to do with. So that I'm grateful that I was looking at some information about a Old Mill Press book, and then was just looking at their website, and it's like, Disneyland history book, Disneyland coffee table book, Disneyland coffee table book, book of poetry, Christmas poems. And it's like, what? So
you're like, I think I may have found my people.
Yes, I definitely did. So they've
awesome.
Been really wonderful. Because
they did the Claude Coates book that just came out too.
Yeah,
man,
3D Disneyland is beautiful. I'm really excited about the George Scribner book they've got coming out. He's got these beautiful paintings of the Panama Canal, and he did the cover of my book. A painting of his was used for the cover of my book.
The cover is beautiful. I mean, it really is.
They are. It's really, it's run by Disney people. There's a Disney animator with Dave Bossert, and it's really neat to publish a book with people who are graphic designers and then some.
Yeah.
Because I think it's gorgeous.
Well, that's really interesting because I just pay attention, mainly to maybe like different types of books, and then maybe I'll realize like, oh, this one author I really like. Never do I pay attention to the publisher, but that's really interesting to see, kind of see the lineup of different Disney specific things that they have. Because there was a lot of books that I have on my wish list actually right now that are all from the same publisher. That's very cool. Very cool.
It seems like you have quite a collection of people that have read this and really enjoy it. And I can tell you right now, just from listening to the poems you've shared, I am very excited. We will definitely be ordering a copy of this. And I'm sure we'll talk about it on the podcast once we read it, other than your interview here. But I'm very excited. We have authors on and we talk about their books. And it never fails at the end of the interview. I really want to read their books.
Yeah.
It's interesting in the beginning, but then they tell you more about it. Then you're just like, this is amazing. And some of the process that went into it. So after all this, since your wife kind of told you to go in this direction, what does she think of the book?
She is, gosh, that's a good question. She's been super supportive and wonderful. She hasn't read it yet. I think she's waiting for, she's a poet. She's helped me with a few of the individual poems, but she hasn't read the whole collection yet. I think she's waiting for the full book, all of them to come in. But she's just been kind of shaking her head through the whole process of like, well, my husband woke up obsessed with Disneyland. But then I think I put that obsession to good use at least. And, she's been very amused at me, but supportive.
That's awesome.
What more could you ask for?
She was the one that, said, hey, let's put the two things together. And she's the reason that the book, exists because of her idea.
She really is. She really is. So.
That's very cool. Very, very cool.
So I'm curious, I see on your bookshelf behind you, now our listeners can't see this, but I see, is that a Disneyland Hotel book you have back there as well?
Yes, that's another Old Mill Press.
Oh, I love it.
It's a re-release.
Look at that photo.
Don Ballard's Disneyland Hotel book.
Wow. Ooh.
Yeah, because it was one that was released I forget however many years ago, and I don't think it was the Old Mill Press who did the first one. And then it went out of print, and you could pick it up. Like I heard about this on a podcast, and I looked it up, and you could buy older copies for $300 and stuff. But then the Old Mill Press just released it. So
it's
re-released
crazy how valuable some Disney and Disneyland books are.
Which is why you should buy 5 of these.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I still can't believe that on a whim, like probably one of my first Amazon ever purchases was the Art of Disneyland Paris, and that book,
wow.
that book is like $500, $600, $700 now, and you can't get it anymore.
Well, and the Nickel Tour is the other one.
The Nickel Tour is another one that I also bought around that time because everybody was talking highly of it, so I bought a copy. And now I'm like, I will never get rid of this because I like the book anyway. But so tell us, you kind of talked a little bit about it before, but I know we're a Disneyland podcast, but I have to ask you. So tell us about. I don't want to hear the poem from it because I want people to get the book and read it. But tell us about your Disneyland Paris experience that inspired the poem.
Well, that was wild. So, in 1993, I was dating this wonderful woman, and she won a trip to Disneyland Paris through her bank. And so
Incredible.
we went. Yeah. So we, the second year of Disneyland Paris, when they're still talking, or Euro Disney, when we're talking, everybody's talking that it was probably going to go under. And so we got to spend, I think it was 4 days there, and it was just so much fun getting to go. So the poem, it's the only non-Disneyland park poem in the book because I was 20. I turned 25 there, so it's all related with the years. That was half my life ago, and now I'm at midlife, and just kind of looking at that and the horror of, we didn't break up in Euro Disney, but we did break up after because it's kind of like she won the trip as the relationship was on its downside.
Oh no.
And so we took the trip hoping it would create a spark, and it didn't quite, but we're friends to this day, and it was a great trip. So great memories, but also hard memories. And so it worked into a poem that I think fit into the book, which was hard because it went back and forth, and it's the only non-Disneyland park poem that made it in. So,
well, like you said, though, I think that makes sense. I mean, it is not the Disneyland, but it is a Disneyland at least. But then also the fact that it was 25 versus then age 25 versus age 50. That's really neat too.
Yeah,
very cool.
Last question. Is this book for all ages?
I think so. There's no cuss words. There's talk about vomit, so kids will love it. I think anybody who loves Disneyland will find some fun stuff in this book. I think it'll appeal maybe a little bit more to folks who are a little bit older, approaching midlife, but you don't have to be. If you want to read a poem about Space Mountain, this is your place.
I'm very excited.
I am too.
I'm usually not excited about poetry, but I think you hit on it. I think that most people are introduced to poetry in such a way that's just not that interesting.
Well, and usually you're introduced to poetry and then like forced to write poems yourself, and you're just like, what?
You mean you're not a poet?
You're kind of taught poetry is this thing that's smarter than you or difficult.
Sure.
Rather than something that just tells stories and can be fun also. And that's what I really like focusing on.
I don't know why, but I feel like in my mind, when I think poetry, I think of almost lyrical, where like the things rhyme and there's like a beat to them. Yeah. But in listening
to some poems,
a few of these do. Yeah.
But in listening to the ones that you shared, they feel, I don't like, and I mean this in a good way, they feel more like raw than that. But I think that that's why I like it better, because it's just kind of the the emotion of the experience that's kind of in the poem, instead of like trying to, you got to find things that rhyme and it has to kind of have this melody to it or whatever, where this is just kind of like, you're really just getting, and I tell you, man, the Dole Whip one, it's just, it's like the beginning of Up. Yeah. It just hits you so quick. You know, you don't expect it to go there, and then it does, and you're totally caught off guard. So I'm excited to see what the rest of the poetry in this book does in that way. So
we will definitely be ordering our copies for sure.
We should order it tonight before we forget. 'Cause
we won't forget.
Well, no, I mean, like, you know how things happen. Like, we intend to. Like, I still haven't ordered our stupid business cards yet. See? Like...
We are going to wrap up with our final question. I'm like extra curious.
Oh, yeah.
What your answer to this one is going to be. So if you could work at Disneyland, what would you do? Of course, the sky is the limit. You can choose from a current role or you can make up your own role. So what would you do?
All right. So part of maybe the dark secret of this book is that this is my my job application for an Imagineer. No, not really, but it could be. I think my job, there needs to be a poet Imagineer working at Disneyland, someone whose job is to go around and look at all the everything written on the side of buildings or in menus or everything, and kind of evaluate it, think, and maybe change some things here and there, but not too much. You don't want somebody changing too much, because then you get like those software programs that you love because they finally got it perfect, but they're paying somebody to update, so they make these stupid changes that you hate so they can keep paying them. So it would be a job where I wouldn't need to be changing things constantly, but that they would trust me to, you know, just wander around and evaluate. That's kind of I would love that job.
I think that's so cool. And really, I mean, with the attention to detail that Disney has, especially in the parks, I'm kind of surprised that this isn't a thing.
Right?
Like, this feels like it would, you know, be a natural fit. And
look me up, Disneyland.
There you go. There you go. And this is really embarrassing, but as you were just like talking about this, it just dawned on me that some of the coolest things that we remember and things that we recite from Disney, usually attractions, they're basically poems. Think about like the intro to, well, really like the Haunted Mansion, the stretching room. That's
when hinges creak in doorless chambers.
That's a poem. Like, never have I figured these things out. Even Avast there.
I'm ridiculous because you said that, and what did I go to? Hang on to them hats and glasses.
Okay, not as.
Sorry,
not as much.
Permanecer sentados, por favor. Those are
also
not,
not as much. But yeah, there's
but you have
poetry
to have the
there.
voice right, and even those silly ones, they got to have the voice right, the rhythm right. So you know, they need a poet evaluating all this.
I think they do, because I mean, poetry. There's poetry there. Like I said, I didn't even didn't even dawn on me that that's what it is, but that's what it is.
See, they're that good. They sneak it under you.
They just snuck it right in.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for talking with us tonight. And of course, we'll remind people again, the book is called At the Corner of Fantasy and Maine, Disneyland, Midlife, and Churros.
We, of course, will have a link in the show notes for those of you that are interested to pre-order your copies.
And just so you know, I literally clicked complete purchase. We just bought our copy right now. So we will have that coming and we can read it. Yes, let's hope. We will message you when we get it, so you will know.
There you go.
It has shown up somewhere, although you'll probably know before us. But yes, so thank you so much. If is there anywhere online that people can follow you? Do you have any social media or something that you post on that people who might be interested in seeing if there's going to be a volume 2, maybe, they can follow you online?
Yeah, they can follow me. I've got a terrible website at matt.midverse.com. And I'm on Facebook. I've got a page, abbreviation of Nebraska State Poet. I'm the third one, so it's NESP3. Follow me, get my poetry news, all that.
Awesome. And we'll have links to these things in the show notes.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Tag and Teresa, this has been a real pleasure. It's wonderful to listen to the show, but it's even better to be on it. So thank you.
We get that a lot, but and we always have a lot of fun.
It's okay. I'll be the only weekly tier without an answer. Make sure you send your questions to Producer James or Producer Vern at trivia@DLWeekly.net.
I should have written some sort of interesting haiku in that time, because that's about the level of poetry I got. I got homework for next time, I guess.
Oh, jeez.
It's the things we do. Welcome back to Trivia Land. 4 questions this week, all from me. We'll see how they did. Question number 1. Gone but not forgotten. How many flowers made up the signature Minnie Mouse bow and eyelashes when she took over at the front of the park? You two would have been a good combination together. You should have met in the middle. It was 750 plants.
I thought you were going to say we needed to add them together. It was like 1,600.
No, the whole thing, I think I remember right, it's about 4,500 plants in total that make up the face, plus there's some more for the swirls that go on next to it, so still a lot of plants for eyelashes and a bow. And
crazy.
I would try to pronounce the plant name, but there's no way I'm going to say Nemesia right, so...
How do you spell it?
Nemesia. Our second question this week, where in the park can you find a baby picture of Walt Disney? Teresa, right on the money, in the Baby Care Center on Main Street. Just inside the lobby to the left, there's a black and white baby picture in an oval frame.
Nice.
Like you said, Tig, what a perfect spot for that.
Yeah.
Question number 3, gave you 50-50 shot. True or false, Disneyland Park is larger than Disney California Adventure? Point for Teresa, it's true.
Woohoo!
Thanks to Galaxy's Edge, Disneyland is about 85 acres versus the 72 over in Disney California Adventure.
Yep. I told you.
They're very comparable before Galaxy's Edge, so would have been a harder question a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And our final question, put the mountains of Disneyland Park in order from shortest to longest track length. Going in order, the shortest is the Matterhorn. Either side, it's either 2,037 feet on the Tomorrowland side versus 2,134 feet. That would be a big difference on the Fantasyland side. Next is Splash Mountain, 2,640 feet, barely shorter than Big Thunder Mountain, 31 feet longer, and our big winner, Space Mountain, 3,459 feet. That means you two know your mountains.
Shocked.
So, wait. What? Tell me, the Big Thunder is how much longer than Splash?
31 feet.
Wow.
Nearly identical.
That's crazy.
Look at you two figuring it out.
Wow. So did we...
It's a 3 out of 4 for Teresa and 2 out of 4 for Tag. Because he had to be different.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, because I said false.
You falsed.
Yeah. That's all right. I figured one of us had to be right.
Had to be different.
Well, that's okay. Got you the point.
Dang.
Yeah.
I'm pretty impressed with us getting the mountains correct. That was not an easy question.
No, but you pulled it off.
Nor did I think they were going to be that close together in actual in like what the actual measurements were.
I feel like
really
this could be a recurring segment of like track lengths, like which dark ride, put them in the right order.
Ideas?
Oh, I've got these lists already built. Y'all are going to have a good time when I come back. But in the meantime, we could probably use some help building out great questions like this. So if you listeners have ideas, Producer Vern and I love to hear them and ask your questions. Just shoot us an email. It's trivia@dlweekly.net.
Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
Please remain seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop and the doors have opened. Then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the episode. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us. And we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at DL Weekly.